So the issue that me and Jacob decided to do was obesity in children and adults. And we kind of looked at different countries across the world, from the US to Canada to Japan, and we kind of compared and contrasted all of them. But to get a better overview of what is obesity and, understanding more of the medical terminology and things such as that, we'll take a deep dive into it. So obesity is a medical condition characterized by an excess of body fat that can have negative effects on health. It is typically defined as having a body mass index of 30 or higher. BMI is a measurement of body fat based on a person's height and weight. So, what are some of the causes of obesity? Obesity can be caused by a combination of factors, including genetics, diet, physical activity, and environmental factors. It is typically treated with a combination of lifestyle changes, such as diet, exercise, and in some cases, medication or surgery. Preventing obesity involves maintaining a healthy lifestyle, including a balanced diet and regular exercise. And on the picture to the right, we can see some causes of obesity, such as overeating, medication, sweetened drinks, gut hormones, smoking, genetics, lack of sleep, and overall being inactive. What other health problems does obesity increase? Obesity can increase the risk of many health problems, including type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, certain cancers, sleep apnea, and obesity can also affect mental health, including depression and anxiety. And to the right, we have a picture of some of the effects that obesity has on the body, such as kidney disease, cardiovascular disease, and has direct effects on sleep apnea, asthma, back pain, and gout, and some other things as well. There's some facts about obesity. From 1999 to 2000 through 2017 to March 2020, the U.S. obesity prevalence increased from 13.5 to 41.9%. During the same time, the prevalence of severe obesity increased from 4.7% to 9.2%. And obviously, this is just in the U.S., and this is only based on adults. Now, the estimated annual cost of obesity in the United States was nearly $173 billion in 2019. Worldwide, obesity has nearly tripled since 1975, just going to show how much obesity has increased throughout the years. So, obesity across the world. For my part, I'm definitely going to be looking at more of, closely looking at Japan compared to US, but these are just some statistics regarding different countries across the world. So currently, obesity in America is at 38.2% of American adults. In Asia, 25% of adults are obese, and in Japan, 4.3% of adults are obese. Additionally, obesity in India, 9.8% of the Indian population classified as obese. And here we have an image kind of just showing the obesity percentages within the United States. So now we're going to get to the part where we compare it to other countries. So we're going to be comparing Japan, Canada, and the US. So obesity rates, I've touched on this, previously, but currently Japan is at 4.3% of adults who have obesity, and the U.S. is at 38.2%. It's important to note that the population differences, currently Japan has 126.3 million people, and the U.S. has 331.4 million people. Obviously, the numbers are different, but even the difference of obesity from Japan to US is still probably around almost 10 times, 9 to 10 times the amount of adults who have obesity. It's still just an important factor to note. So why is the obesity rate so low in Japan? Now, there's a couple of factors of why this is, and some of them are dietary habits, active lifestyle, cultural factors, and genetics. And we'll take a deep dive into each part of these. So, dietary habits. The traditional Japanese diet is high in vegetables, fish, and other low-calorie foods, and tends to be low in fat and calories. Japanese meals are typically based on smaller portions, which help to control caloric intake. And we have a picture of some fish, some miso soup, some nuts, rice, all whole base food from the earth. Not really any processed food. They still have some, but I think the portion control definitely helps a lot as well. Active lifestyle. Walking, cycling, and public transportation are common modes of transportation in Japan, which promotes physical activity. Additionally, traditional Japanese work culture encourages walking and movement throughout the day, which can help prevent sedentary behavior. And below, I have some statistics on the average steps per day based off each country. So Japan, currently the national average is 7,168 steps per day, and the US is at 5,117 steps per day. Now this is an important statistic to look at because just being more active throughout your day allows you to burn more calories, putting you in a, at maintenance or at a deficit, allowing for normal weight gain or weight control. Now, some cultural factors. Japanese culture values moderation and self-control, which extends to eating habits. In Japan, it is customary to eat only until you are about 80% full, which can help prevent overeating. This is very different within the US, and this is something I'll be covering in later slides. So genetics, Japan. Some researchers have suggested that genetic factors may also play a role in the low obesity rate in Japan. Genetics is a sensitive topic. I think the three other factors are definitely attribute a lot more to the obesity rate, but genetics is is definitely an important aspect to look at in regards to obesity. So why is the obesity rate so high in the U.S. compared to Japan? We're going to be looking at kind of the similar factors, just the differences between them from dietary habits, sedentary lifestyle, cultural factors, and also fast food and portion control is a big thing in the U.S. that leads to high rates of obesity. So dietary habits. The typical American diet is often high in processed foods, sugar, and unhealthy fats, which can contribute to weight gain and obesity. Portion sizes are often larger in the US compared to other countries, which can lead to overeating. You see this very prevalently in a lot of fast food chains where you can buy one, get one free. The portions are also very large. Another thing that we do is when you get a large soda or a beverage from a fountain drink, they tend to be extremely large. One example of that is, a 7-Eleven Big Gulp, where do we really need these extremely large portions? And given the fact that a lot of them are processed foods, sugar, and unhealthy fats, it leads to a lot of health problems such as obesity and other factors as well. Sedentary lifestyle. So many Americans have jobs that require sitting at a desk for a long period of time, which can lead to a sedentary lifestyle. Additionally, many people in the U.S. rely on cars for transportation, which can reduce the amount of physical activity in their daily lives. So some cultural factors within the U.S. American culture often promotes consumption and convenience, which can lead to unhealthy eating habits. Additionally, social and economic factors can make it difficult for some people to get access to healthy food options or engage in physical activity. Compared to Japan, where you only eat when you're 80% full, many families promote the idea of you can't leave the table until you've eaten all your food. And also, it's very important to note economic factors promote people to look for cheap and unhealthy food alternatives, such as fast food, what you can get your hands on. A lot of us are in a rush. So I feel like the one big problem with the U.S. is we have very limited, healthy alternatives that are quick, easy, and economically sound. So fast food and portion control. Fast food and portion control are two factors that are often associated with the high obesity rate in the U.S. Fast food is often high in calories, fat, and sugar, and tends to be consumed in large portions. Additionally, many fast food restaurants offer meals that are marketed as a good value, which encourages customers to purchase larger portion sizes. And I have a statistic covering the McDonald's between the two countries. So currently, the United States has over 14,146 McDonald's, and this is as in of 2019. So locations have opened, and Japan currently has 2,975 McDonald's. And this is just for McDonald's, but I think it really encompasses the whole fast food as a whole, and really highlights that, typically in the U.S. we have a lot more fast food locations. Now, comparing and contrasting the two, and obviously the slides I've just shown really kind of highlight the differences, but from the information, it is clear to see why the U.S. adult population has a higher obesity rate. When looking at the U.S. and Canada and Japan, we have high, in U.S. and Canada, we have high amounts of processed food and fast food chains. Compared to Japan, accompanied by a more sedentary lifestyle, it is very easy for Americans and Canadians to gain weight and to reach obesity compared to other countries. Geography may also have an impact. Countries closer together have similar food supplies and even cultures, which could lead to similar obesity rates. And Jacob's going to be covering a lot more of, the Canada as a whole and some of their lifestyles and how it leads to obesity and some of the similarities within that.
Okay, so moving on to obesity rates in children. Children are not impervious to rising rates in obesity. In fact, they are just as susceptible, if not even more susceptible, compared to adults and their role models, because children tend to take after parents. They tend to take after their role models. So if they see them with a certain body, they see that it's okay for them to have that body too, even if it's not necessarily healthy fact, roughly 26.4% of children ages 2 to 19 in America in 2016 were classified as obese, whereas compared to 2000, only 19.5% of children were considered obese. So this is about a 5% increase roughly over a 16-year period. This is uncharacteristically high in terms of human history. Uh, Moving on to obesity rates in Canada and why that's so high, there's four main reasons, which include dietary habits, sedentary lifestyles, and over reliance on screen time, cultural factors, and a reliance on packaged foods and processed foods. So we're going to start off first with dietary habits. Similar to America, Canada is an avid consumer of fast food and sugary desserts. They rely heavily on salad oils, wheat flour, soft drinks, shortening, rice, chicken, and cheese. As you know, any one of these, if consumed too much of, can throw off glucose and insulin balances, causing those who eat too much or drink too much to become overweight and eventually obese if not taken care of. A large portion of Canadians tend to drink sugary soft drinks in between meals. Maybe they're looking for a monster and want some energy throughout the day, or maybe they're just drinking their favorite soda, Coca Cola. Uh, doesn't really matter what the reason is. Uh, Drinking too much sugary substances, too many sugary drinks, has a high correlation to obesity and can adversely affect their health in general. So, Canada lives a very sedentary lifestyle, especially in the pre or post pandemic era that we're living in. Thanks to technological innovation, sedentary lifestyles have just run rampant. Instead of performing hands-on activities with their hobbies or going to work, they are now working from home and looking to social media and other platforms for their entertainment. Those that uh, have more screen time are more likely to become obese, and this pattern can be seen in men, women, children. It doesn't really matter. Anyone can fall to this, and the more they rely on their screen, the more likely they are to become overweight or obese in the end. So, some cultural factors at play are that uh, a lot of Canada's population is actually French. So either they, their parents, or their grandparents were immigrants from France. And this means that their meals are heavily based off of French tradition. So they're heavily spiced, filled with carbohydrates, which, as I said earlier, can increase glucose and insulin levels, throwing their body out of whack and causing them to become overweight. Uh, Due to cold climate conditions that Canada experiences because of their geography, a lot of their foods are either soups or stews and have become their staple meals. Uh, Normally, if they do have meat, it's something such as deer, moose, and rabbit, which are really gamey. Uh, They have an over reliance on prepackaged and processed foods. Like I said, they're very similar to America in that way. Processed foods are more likely to be high in sodium, sugar, trans fats, that kind of thing, than compared to unprocessed foods, which, when you have easy access to that and all the fast food outlets that they have everywhere across all of their provinces, uh, obesity and overweight populations can run rampant. Canadians rely on fast food and other processed foods and pretty much uh, every one of their diets every day. They this has contributed significantly to their increase in obesity rates, which has doubled since 1970 roughly. So overall, just their diets, their cultural, their lifestyle, all those changes in recent years have really caused Canada's obesity rates to kind of run rampant. They're up there with the US in terms of obesity.